Well, the inevitable happened. You'd have to say it was that dreaded 7 p.m.-ish Bengaluru rain that just comes and stays and doesn't go away. What was started as a downpour went into an incessant drizzle, and once that happens, 10:02 was the cutoff for the first ball to be bowled for a 5-over match to be completed. And obviously, that was not to happen with the ground still very wet and drops of rain still falling. Just to remind you what happened in the game, 3.3 overs were actually played, and India weren't in the best position possible with Ishan Kishan coming hard off the blocks, then getting out. Rituraj Gaikwad also succumbing to a slower delivery, and India finishing, or didn't finish. India at that break were 28 for 2 in 3.3 overs. No further play took place, and the series finishes 2-all. There you have it, the summary. Both wickets to Dungisani and Gidi. The one to Ishan Kishan particularly was a peach of a slower Yorker that completely deceived him. So the series then finishes 2-2, and in many ways you might just say fair result the way both teams have played so far. Here on Cricbuzz Live to just look back on the 3.3 overs, but more importantly on the series which ended 2-all. I'm joined by Joy Bhattacharjya and Zaheer Khan. I mean, some people might say fair result. Many others would disagree in those respective dressing rooms, but you'd have to say it was competitive, and because of the rain, sometimes you'll take a 2-2.
Yes, the series was competitive. There is no doubt about it. In fact, there was a lot of pressure on the Indian team to come back in the series, level the series, and it was a perfect setup for the decider. So from that point of view, it's a bit of a disappointment that the match couldn't happen today. Doesn't matter about the start. It's about the full 40 overs was going to be very exciting. There was going to be a lot of excitement, and for the Indian team also, the momentum which we're talking about, which is with them, wasn't really a greatest of the start. So there was a lot of exciting cricket coming. Unfortunately, wasn't the case. So we have to take things in our strides and say that both the teams played well. Both the teams will take a lot out of this series. And then look forward to that big one end of the year. So that's something which both the teams will be looking at. Focus on the positives and just move on.
Yeah, well, a few people would point out the kind of rain one tends to have at this time of year in the Garden City, but sometimes, Joy, you can't really look at it like that. It's allocated. Associations have got certain matches, and you can't really look beyond the Chinnaswamy as a cricketing venue for getting the rain.
Look, we are kids of the 80s and 90s. We have seen about 350 matches that Sri Lanka, Colombo called out due to rain. Kandy, Colombo, Gal, especially Gal. So I just say Chinnaswamy's had its share. It's just one of those things. You could have probably scheduled it a little bit better. Or the Chinnaswamy could have even said, I'll fall back in the rotation and take a match a bit later. But, associations in those days, in this time when India has so many good stadiums, people are very reluctant to give their place up in the queue. So they would have said, let's take a chance and hope it's there. But I think my big point is that I think South Africa will be definitely more relieved out of it. Because again, if they it's 2-0 and then they end up losing 3-2, the C word would come up again and they'd probably be happier saying, let this series be a draw, let us go back. Honor intact, we did really well in the first 2 matches. And there are lots of points and lots of things that they did well, which I think they can look back on and say that, we were not a bad side at all, especially given the fact that, they had so many injury troubles.
Yeah, well, since we've, Joyce, touched upon it, we will, of course, come to India shortly. But let's talk about South Africa's positives then, because really looking at this as a T20 World Cup year, South Africa are a team who have been rebuilding post-Faf du Plessis, A.B. de Villiers, and for them to see a team coming together, Zaheer, with the ingredients of a potential match-winning team in a T20 World Cup would please them the most.
Absolutely, I think you can't take South Africa lightly. There is no doubt about it. They've shown all the signs of consistency, all the signs of beating any team and becoming a force by the time they get to the big World Cup. We were touching upon their bench strength as well. When they had some share of injuries throughout the series, but they've stayed on top. They looked like they were willing to fight through and through. So that is the biggest positive, I would say. uh, Van der Dusen, Miller, and Pretorius as well. I would put as a very big positive, simply because they've used him in a different role. So you are adding to what you got, is something which we've looked at in the series. Miller's form was superb. Klassen, again, coming back from sitting on the bench, winning a game for the team. So that's another positive, along with the regulars, Quinton de Kock, who couldn't participate in the series through and through. So there are a lot of positives with bowling. Also, you've seen Rabada today, Ngidi also putting his hand up. You've seen Wayne Parnell coming back. He's also been good with the ball. Shamsi didn't start really well, but later on was looking good. Maharaj captaining today, so that's another one in terms of consistency. So overall, when you look at the South African team before the series started, and when the series is finishing, your lookout certainly has changed if you watch the whole series, and that's what you want when you're playing against a team like India. It's a big challenge. And I think that's how this whole South African setup will be looking at, saying that, okay, we can give a good team a really tough challenge. So it's about just focusing on the building blocks now, and setting the template which they've set, which was going in with the 5 pure bowlers. I think that's something which we will see going forward as well from South African team, and get ready for the big one end of the year.
Yeah, just a point to make about the batting more than the bowling, because the bowling really seems to select itself. The likes of Rabada and Giri, Nokia, they're all there, and it has the nucleus of the team that we've known. But all the names I said that were missing in terms of a Du Plessis and a De Villiers, those are the gaps that need to be filled. Aiden Markram couldn't take part, so he'll be a critical one coming back. What do you see long term? And for long term, I'm just meaning the next 6 to 8 months, Joy, for South Africa with regard to Temba Bavuma. What, in your opinion, is his best role in the team as a batter?
Look, to be honest with you, he has no other position to bat. Because I don't think he's the kind of batsman who can muscle it at 6 or 7 or 4, 5, 6 or 7. He can open, and I think he's an intelligent player, an extremely intelligent player. I think when you look at Temba Bavuma, it's somebody who plays well within his understands his limitations, and therefore plays smartly within it. Okay, I'll pierce the field, I'll score runs, I'll score fast up front. After that, if one of the other batters are going, I'll play the anchor role. And he is, as Zach has said repeatedly, he's a good captain. He's an excellent captain. He's a great thinker. He knows how to play his field around. He knows how to marshal his bowling attack. He does everything well. And yes, he's not the best at this point in time. Is he the most attacking batsman? Well, they don't really have a choice, because the way they are structured and with all that's happening in South African cricket, he has to play. He has to play. And if you look at who else can captain, he has to captain as well, given the circumstances of the way the South African board is going about it.
Well,
So
just to chuck a name into you, as you're saying that, Joy, Aiden Markram could be a possible alternative.
As a possible option as a captain?
Yeah.
Look, at this point in time, they're looking at it in one particular way, and I don't want to go there. I would say, if you look at it in the next couple of years, given the fact that I'm quite high up on bowlers, Pat Cummins, this is the era of maybe bowler captains. I remember one for the Delhi Daredevils not so long back. Pretty interesting the way he captained this team. So I'm just looking at it and saying, you have Bumrah as a potential captain in the next 2-3 years. I really like him as a captain. I don't mind Rabada as well. He's a young man who's really smart. And the one thing about Rabada is, at least for the next 2-3 years, unless there's a huge change in form, he's a 100% pick, first team pick.
Yeah, well, they have lots of options. The only reason I thought of Markram was because of his captaincy at the under-19 level, and at one point in time being touted as a future captain, but definitely certainty in the team. But when it comes to Team India, well, there'll be positives and maybe a few missed opportunities as well, particularly the opening department. We spoke with lots of praise for Ishan Kishan, the way he's reinvented himself. Zaheer gave us insights into Ishan Kishan, the person and the player. But if you compare the two, Zaheer, Ishan Kishan obviously was outstanding. He played the conditions. He played according to each particular surface. But Ruturaj will look back and say, 5 matches for me, knowing the possibility maybe KL Rahul's got a while before he comes back. I really should have done better.
Yes, I think there are always these takeaways, GB. But when we're talking about Ishan Kishan, from this series, he has taken a lot. There is no doubt about it. He's gotten into the top 10 in ICC rankings as well. He's been playing regularly, and when you're playing regularly, the only way you get those chances is by showing that consistency. So he has made use of all the chances which he has got in the last 1.5 years, if you look back. And with Ruturaj as well, he's been getting his opportunities. There are a lot of names who will be featuring in the Ireland series as well, which we are talking about. Sanju Samson to start with, and I'm purely just touching upon the keepers. Keepers who can bat. So there are definitely going to be 2 spots to be taken for the World Cup, and whatever we are discussing right now, and players also know pretty well that this is just a lead up. This is the lead up for the big one, and you just got to follow the processes and keep doing what's in your control, and then keep showing that you're ready. So from that point of view, yes, when you look at Ruturaj and Ishan, currently Ishan is certainly looking ahead. And he's showing that consistency as well. With Ruturaj also, you've seen the kind of talent he has and the kind of ability he has. It's just a form based. So I think when the team is going to be decided for the big one, which names are going to do the rounds, and KL is going to come back, Rohit is going to come back, Surya is going to be around. So we'll have to see that what option and what kind of approach the team management goes with. So it's a problem of plenty right now when you're looking at this Indian team setup, and that's why you need the solid vision at the top in terms of focusing on what kind of template you want to set, what brand of cricket you want to play, and then keep the template the same. Keep the roles and the responsibilities of the individuals in those playing 11 the same, but the roles and responsibilities which each individual has, and the individuals you replace or rest, that remains very, very steady and very, very balanced. If you're able to achieve that, then the names will keep on shuffling, but the pattern will remain the way Indian team is playing.
Well, of course, there will be a very different look when it comes to the top order, Joy, for Team India. The quicker bowlers, the spinners, very much the nucleus of it is there. You chuck in a Bumrah, you chuck in a couple of bowlers in there. But for the openers, it will look very different once Rohit Sharma comes back, once Rahul recovers from his injury, and once Kohli is there in the top 3.
Yeah, it's going to be a very different top order batting lineup. But I think that's what I'm saying, that this is sort of a chance to put up your wares and show where you are. And I think at this point in time, one of the things Ishan Kishan did well was he adapted his game to what was needed. Maharaj comes on, he knows this could be a truncated game, rain is threatening, I have to go early. He goes and takes 15 runs off him. And I think that is what makes, at this point in time, Ishan Kishan, and leave talent aside, I think all these players are tremendously talented players. Ruturaj, once he gets in, he's an absolutely amazing player. But I think what Ishan has done well is look at what India needed or the team needed at any point in time. Do I need to attack a bowler early? Do I need to do this early? Do I need to really go after somebody? Do I need to make that start happen? So he's not thought about playing his natural game. He's thought about playing the game that India needed at that point in time. And therefore, leave alone what the statistics tell you or the numbers tell you. I think in that way, he's slightly ahead of where Ruturaj is in terms of that third opener for India.
So if you look at the top, we have some new names coming. You look at the bowling, the nucleus is settled. But in the middle, that one slot, Zaheer, that India have been sort of hunting for a while, is that someone who's close to a 50-50 all-rounder. And in Hardik Pandya, when he bowls, they've obviously found that. And the way he's played in this series, the way he's played in the IPL, I think that will be one of the big pluses for Team India.
Absolutely, and we did touch upon this. I did touch upon this beginning of the series, where my player to watch out for from this series was Hardik. Purely because now once the IPL is over, He was coming off the high as well of winning the trophy. He was in a different role. He was in a leadership role. So all those things were going to matter. And the next milestone for him also, or the next target, the next ambition, the motivation is going to come from the World Cups. And he himself has been very vocal about those. Like, he wants to win cups. World Cup is one of the thing on his agenda. So his focus also is going to be getting ready for that big one. And from that point of view, the start has been phenomenal. This was important for the Indian team as well, that he plans things around this. Rahul Dravid was also very, very clear about keeping it very open channel of communication with him. We've seen it in Sri Lanka series as well, and then the World Cup followed after the IPL, which was in November, if I'm not mistaken. So around that time, there were a lot of concerns. So he has seen, he has understood, he has analyzed what it's going to require of him. He understands the team's needs, so which is the big positive. So we hope from Indian team's point of view that he stays on this path and really charts his course towards that big one in Australia.
Yeah, certainly that's going to be the big positive to take forward, because you mentioned, Joy, about his role as a sixth bowler, and it's a very clear-cut role. There were days when spinners were going well, 5 bowlers doing well. It's not that you have to chuck the ball to him, but when he's needed, he could give you 1, he could give you 2, he could give you 4.
Exactly. He could give you 4, and that's the important thing. It's not that he can sneak into. On a good day, with a good track, with the conditions suiting him, he could give you 4. And in Australia, those days are more likely to happen than they happen in the subcontinent. Look, the other thing I'm going to tell you about Hardik is the biggest thing about players, the biggest ability of players, the biggest superpower of great players is their ability to change. What do I mean by that? Sachin Tendulkar goes to Sydney, not getting a run in Australia in that year, if you remember, and just cuts out driving. Just not a single cover drive, scores the double century, unbeaten double century. Okay. Virat Kohli, how he changes his game, from 2008 young, brash under-19 captain to what Virat became 2015, 16, 17, the 70 international hundreds. He changed his game totally. He changed the way he looked at it. One of the great things about Hardik is the way his ability to change. And from being this ebullient, so when you look at Hardik and you describe him 5 years before, you'd say firecracker, explosive. These are the words that come. So the same player who you're describing explosive 5 years back, you're describing now as what amazing calmness. And the beauty of it is he hasn't lost his explosiveness. All he's done is he's added some calmness to it, and he's added what Zach would describe as situational awareness. That, okay, I'm here, this is what needs to be done. And I think that is so special. Players who are great players, they transcend themselves and they change. And you see their careers, you say, this is phase 1 of their career, this is phase 2, this is phase 3. And you look at these phases and they're very different players throughout. And I think Hardik is in a very different phase of his career as he was maybe 3-4 years back.
Yeah, you mentioned flamboyance, but it's not necessarily that everyone who contributes to the Indian team has to be flamboyant. In fact, if you look at the other end of the spectrum, one of the positives from the series is a person who's about as unflamboyant as it comes, Zaheer. And someone from your department, if I can call it that, Bhuvaneshwar Kumar, always goes about his work quietly. Even celebrations are muted, mostly. And one of the big positives for India now and going ahead to Australia.
Has to be, and I really liked after that first game when he was taking the press conference, and he was very very open in accepting the fact that yes, the bowlers need to take more responsibility, and he himself needs to step up. And that kind of approach and attitude always helps. First thing has to come with acceptance, and then you can change things around that. So from Bhuvi's point of view, he's back to making that impact with the new ball, which we all which we all have known him for. So that is something which is very important. When he's in that kind of form, that really sets the tone of the bowling innings. You know that when Bumrah is going to come, he's going to take the load of the death overs and chip in with the new ball as well. But then when you're talking about stacking up those 20 overs, things that puzzle gets easier and easier to deal with. So from Indian team point of view, and in this format, we've seen experience plays a crucial role because a couple of overs and the game really changes. So these small phases you have to really identify and deal with, and for that you need experience, you need calmness, you need clarity in making decisions. So all those ingredients are very well placed when you're talking about Bhuvneshwar, and it's just about keeping himself fit. I think he's growing in confidence as he's playing more and more. It's just that he has not got that long stretch of injury free period which can really give him that confidence, and I think he's heading towards that. So that has to be a big positive from India's bowling point of view.
Yeah, and also he plays a role, Joyan, within the leadership group. Rahul Dravid touched upon it in one of the interviews during the series about the fact that, yes, it could be a challenge working with multiple captains over an 8-month period, but it can also be an opportunity because you're grooming leaders within the team. Doesn't mean that every leader has to be a future captain of India, but it could mean your leadership within the team, and I think Bhuvi is one of them.
Yeah, Bhuvi is absolute. And there's some players who are very good about the technical part of the game. And Bhuvi is a bowler, from the under 19 days. And I remember that he was a NCA boy. And, Dave Watmore used to work with him a lot. He was the first person who really told us that this guy will play for India for a long time. And I remember the one thing that they say about Bhuvi is he's technically so good himself that even with younger bowlers, even within Umran, who plays for the same side as him, the kind of work that he does with him, or the kind of understanding of seam positions, of delivery positions, of where the hand is going, whether your head is falling off. He's just so good at those things. He'll quietly tell you, he'll watch you in the nets, he'll quietly tell you. And that's why he's very good with young bowlers around. And you may say Umran Malik has not played a single match in this series. What has he got out of this series? And Zach will tell you that he's got a real, just staying 5 matches with the Indian team, 10, 12, 14 days with the Indian team, the amount that he's gained hanging around with these players would be absolutely incredible.
I mean, times have changed, Zaheer. Obviously, now there's a lot more people who travel with the team, and someone like Arshdeep and Umran would have gained a lot from just this 5-match series, even without playing a single delivery. But taking back to your days, could you recall maybe a person who you would sit if you were not playing a game and glean a lot out of? And conversely, when you were playing, were there guys around who were soaking everything up from a Zaheer Khan on the field when they were in the dressing room?
Well, yes, I think with me, GB, you knew that either I'm playing the match or I was sitting at home. That's that's how my career had gone. But I think these conversations, being with the team, is always very handy. And personally for me also, it was always about picking on brains of any fast bowler who you would interact with. Be it in functions when you're on tours, usually have these get-togethers. You go there, you have conversations with bowlers. You get to meet the opposition bowlers as well. You have those conversations. I remember having chats with Jason Gillespie, McGrath for that matter, Wasim Akram. All these guys. You had conversations, and you end up talking about bowling, what they used to do, how they approach the game. So those conversations go a long way. It's not about the formal way of learning, but it's about learning through experiences. So yeah, from that point of view, it's always a help. And if you are with the squad, so motivation point of view, it's a huge plus. For someone like Umran right now, he knows it's just that he's one step closer to what he wants to achieve. So that makes a huge difference, and that's where all these guys are at. So someone gets injured, you can get an opportunity. Series going tough. If team management is looking at some other ways of staying ahead of tactics, you have a chance. So when you're with the team, it's always a big plus in terms of getting the motivation which you require, keeping up with the conversations and the learning process. So yes, I think for someone like Umran, this tour must have been a great help with regard to that, knowing that he's just a step closer now to achieving his goal.
Yeah, very different from Joy from someone like a Jasprit Bumrah. Since we talked about him, I remember chatting with him the other day, and I didn't realize until I had that long conversation just how much of a newcomer he was when he flew in for his first series in Australia. He was told last minute he was going, got his passport together, got on a flight, didn't know anyone except I think one member from the Gujarat squad who was in the team. Didn't really know any of the big superstars. MS didn't say a word to him when he went out on the field for his first match in Sydney, and there was David Warner and Steve Smith in front of him. So some guys get thrown in the deep, others have an initiation like an Umran and Arshdeep Ken.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the days have passed that we are ever going to have initiations like either he did or Ishant did when they were thrown in the deep end, or even Zach before going to Nairobi, he and Yuvraj. I don't think he would have got that much chance before that to get ready and for everything for that. So I think all these things happen, it's a very different world out here. The Indian team is a well off team and they spend their money on keeping the staff around, keeping players around, getting them slowly into the team. So I think it's never going to happen again. But I think it's so special that forget everything else. Even if you've not played a match, when they'll call you up and they'll ask you for your shirt number, and your kit will come, and your India kit is there, and you open it and you see an India kit, even if you have not made your debut, just to see that okay, there's an India kit made out in my name with my number on it, must be so special.
Certainly is. And the one number that stood ahead of all the others in this series, we've already touched upon him, but worth mentioning. Player of the series, and not for the first time, done it home, done it away, Bhuvaneshwar Kumar. And I think everyone would be delighted that it's a bowler who walks away with the Player of the Series award for this 2-all series, and certainly well deserved. But since we did touch upon Arshdeep and we did touch upon Umran Malik in particular, worth having a look at where they might get their next opportunities ahead. And one suspects it could be in good old Ireland. India heading there next before the England series. Just a couple of games, but this could be a huge opportunity. Hardik Pandya taking over as captain. 3 wicket keepers who are different from this series. Rishabh Pant not there, Ishan Kishan, DK and Sanju Samson. But in that bowling department, Zaheer, I think this is one possibility we might see Umran Malik in the starting 11.
See, I think well, I don't really want to raise your hopes up because when you look at the changes which have been made, more on the batting side, and you just kind of know that what kind of approach the team management is also going in. From this series, you get a sense that they don't want to do too much of chopping and changing. So they want to set the players in their respective roles, and they want to give them a fair run, a longish run. So from that point of view, I think you will see some changes in batting order, or the personnel's taking up filling those spots in the batting order. But I don't see many changes with regard to the bowling stack up. The bowlers who are taking part in the playing 11 is pretty much going to be the same what we've seen here. I think it's more about giving them confidence, making them used to playing under pressure, and getting them more familiar with their roles is something. The way team management, I have a feeling we'll have to wait and see. Will be going in. So from that point of view, maybe someone like Deepak Chahar, if he's making a comeback, because he's coming from an injury layoff. So that is something which we have to wait and see. He might get an opportunity, but the youngsters Arshdeep and Umran might not get opportunities because it's just two T20s there. So might not be the case.
Yeah, Deepak Chahar not in this particular squad, but certainly Zahi is right, Joy, that the guys who played in this series, the nucleus of the bowlers, Bhuvaneshwar Kumar, Avesh Khan, definitely will be there, and they'll continue with that formula.
Yeah, I think they might change one of them, but not really all of them. And I think, again, remember, it's Lakshman who's now coach. And of course, it doesn't matter who's coach, because I think the philosophy is something that they'll all discuss. Again, I think we have a situation there that Rahul Tripaঠি's just got his opportunity out there. And I have a feeling that's really, you have one slot between Sanjay, Rahul Tripathi and Surya Kumar Yadav. Again, because the 15, World Cup 15s are so tight. And that's one place where I see all those 3 players really possibly having an opportunity. I'm wondering, because DK, I think, has already shown enough for people to say that we know what he has now. Whether they play him to just keep him in form and action, but they know DK has now shown, okay, this is what I give, this is what I deliver to the team. And it is a very precious resource. So I'll be really interested in seeing how they stack their batting order up. I have a feeling all those three will play at least one match.
Yeah, I think it would certainly be worth getting as many look-ins as possible. Zaid, just a quick one. Rahul Tripathi, wonderful opportunity, finally broke the door down, got into the team. Could he perhaps be a contender to be in that 15 to Australia? Or is it just too crowded at the moment?
I think it's too early to say. I think from Rahul Tripathi's point of view, he's been very consistent. So he deserved to be there. So from that point of view, it's a great confidence booster for him as well. Because at times it gets very difficult to keep motivating yourself. You start creating that doubt for yourself that what more can I do, and that at times makes things difficult for you in terms of your own game. So when you get these kind of opportunities, it just kind of calms you down. It just kind of reassures you with the processes which you've been following. So from that point of view, for Rahul Tripathi, it's a great boost in confidence to be part of the Indian team. It's all the hard work which he's been doing over the last 3-4 years is getting rewarded by this opportunity, and he should also look at it that way, and he's someone who we know once he gets the opportunity, he's going to make sure that what is next, he would want to really make use of that opportunity and show that now I'm ready. And there are a lot of names, so you're right in mentioning that currently you have so many players to pick from, and that's why it's important that you have to give credit to the team management as well, that if the focus, whatever we are hearing, is on communication and making them understand how exactly they're looking at it and why they're not there. They're not there just because they're not good enough. I think they're good enough to be there, but it's just that you have to wait, or you have to keep on working with whatever things you're doing. It's not that you are lacking somewhere in some cases, and in some cases that okay, certain areas of the games which you have to improve upon to be part of the Indian setup. So I think that communication is something which is going to be very key for Indian cricket going forward, simply because you're just churning out players who are good enough to be part of the team.
One more opportunity that we can see in that Irish squad, not the Irish squad, the India squad too, I'll enjoy, is Hardik Pandya, not the batsman, not the bowler, but Hardik the captain. In a year when he's led a franchise, a brand new franchise, to the trophy, it's only 2 matches. He knows it's only 2, but how much can he glean? How much can he take out from those 2 matches?
I think he'll take out a lot. The first and foremost thing is, no matter how many matches you captain India, to captain India is a great, great honor. It's something that he'll take, and given that he's had a up journey there, but he's had his ups and downs as well. It's not always been very straightforward, and therefore, I think, given injury, given all the controversy, I think he'll really enjoy it. The fact that he's going out to toss as India captain, it's a dream. When players dream, they don't dream they're going to be IPL franchise captains. Maybe they will in 15 years' time, but even now, the players who are playing for India always dream they'll captain India. They'll walk out there and captain India, and so I think it's a big thing for him. He will just want to put his hand up, do the deed, and show that I'm excellent. I've done what I've done well. And the fact of it is that sometimes that captaincy may never return to you. Gautam Gambhir is a great example. Won 5 series 5-0, and the incumbent captain came back. He went out. Ajinkya Rahane is another example of that. So I think Hardik will not raise his hopes. He'll just say, let me do my job. Let me win these 2 matches. Let me run it well. And then who knows what happens in the future.
But also he will feel it's almost a vindication of the season that's happened in the IPL, because it's not just, okay, here's a 15-member squad. Who can be, okay, fine. There's no Rohit, there's no Rishabh. Let's just make somebody captain. It's obviously a reward for the fact that he's shown and demonstrated his leadership qualities in Gujarat.
Absolutely, there is no doubt about it. We've been mentioning this through and through, but Joyda is absolutely right in saying that leading your country is the highest honor for any cricketer. So you just got to cherish that moment, and you got to enjoy that, rather than thinking about what's coming next and all that. Leading your country is something special, and I'm sure that's how he will also be looking at it. Not overcomplicating it, not thinking about how can I be here for long term and all those kind of things. Those things has its own time and place. But I think right now he's just going to cherish the moment of leading Team India.
Yeah, well, so we're looking forward to India touring Ireland. And of course, there's a busy July in England and lots more to look forward to in the Caribbean before everything builds up to the T20 World Cup in Australia starting towards the end of October. For now, just one question to be resolved as the series finished level at 2-all. Joy, level playing field as far as your question was concerned. Zaheer was champing at the bit to try and answer it, but give us the question. We'll let him answer it, and then we'll reveal our winner.
No, don't make me answer.
Okay, fine.
I was actually thinking of some other name.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, so here's the question, and the question was, if you go back again, 67 years after his father made a Test century on debut, his son took 8 wickets on his Test debut against Australia. Who is a cricketer? And this is a man called Ron Headley, whose father George Headley played for England, whose son Dean Headley did very well for England. Ron also played just one match for England, but that's the only example of 3 generations, father, son, grandson playing international cricket together. Great moment, and of course, it's a Father's Day question, of course.
Yeah, fair enough. It could be a Grandfather's Day question, but yeah, hence your clarification on the phrasing of the question, Joy, because 67 years, I was thinking it's either somebody who's been a father at a very old age, or we're talking 3 generations, which is what we were.
Or John Tricos making his debut very late. No, actually, Tricos made his debut early and then came back late.
Yeah. Yes, it was. You can tell us who you were thinking of, Zaheer.
I was actually thinking of started with Broad.
Yeah, Stuart. Yeah, Stuart Broad, of course.
Yeah,
Stuart Broad is
very logical. Other than the 67 years, very logical.
Then I thought about 67 years. Like, okay, that's not possible.
Yeah, but otherwise, 8 wickets and a couple of those hundreds in the Ashes that he made in the mid 80s. Chris Broad, that could well have been an answer. But yes, of course,
India quite a lot of trouble as a match referee, though. It's not India's favorite match referee.
Well. So there you have it. It's the long and the short of it, or the broad and the narrow of it, it's the Headleys. Dean Headley, the one with the wickets, and of course George and Ron were the others. Who spotted this first? And somehow this smells of hardcore quizzing, and it's okay. I think it's him. I think it's our friend again, just disguising his answer. Yeah. Esmolol TC. Come on, Tonmai. What is this now?
Yeah, so it's Esmolol. I'm trying to remember what Esmolol is, unless he's written something backward. LOL something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is him. It's definitely him.
Yeah, I have no idea. Come on, you've got to tell us. #Cricbuzz Live. You've given us the answer. Let us know what Esmolol TC stands for. But otherwise, yeah, we know it's you. We know it's you. I guess TC is probably your initials, which is fine. But what is Esmolol? I mean, you're supposed to answer the questions, not make us start thinking about it all over again. But yeah, we've had plenty to think about, plenty to chat about over these 5 matches. We, of course, are going to keep coming back. Once again, July is going to be a busy month, as is August, September, and as we build up to that big T20 World Cup. Everything's starting to fall into place for Team India and even for Team South Africa and some others. For now, from the entire team that puts together Cricbuzz Live, and of course, 3 of us happen to be there chatting. Thanks to everyone doing all the hard work behind the scenes. It's time from Joy Bhattacharya, Zaheer Khan, and myself, Gautam Bhimani, to say thank you all for being with us for these 5 matches. It's 2-all as far as the series is concerned. And that's all we have. We'll see you soon, very shortly on Cricbuzz Live.
Thank you.